Hello and welcome to RenoPinball. Tonight is going to be something very different, so it may not be for everybody. But I'm going to be doing a stream talking about the custom pinball machine that I'm making. So it's a little hard to film it. We'll see how well this goes. It might be a short stream if it doesn't work out very well. So hopefully, if you're interested in finding out, I'm willing to talk everything from, using my 3D printer to make parts, using Mission Pinball Framework is the framework that I'm using. I want to be able to look at code tonight, show some different code stuff. Maybe even look at some of the renderings I've done from I've designed the whole table in 3D. So we can kind of look at the progression and how things have changed. Love to hear some questions, answers, and just kind of talk homebrew pinball if anybody's interested. So I think what I'm going to do first is I'll talk about the game a little bit since there is no art. Obviously, it's a little hard to understand what's going on. So basically this game is a horror theme game, but my goal is that it is not like a fun campy horror. I want it to be actually like scary horror game. So basically the idea is that the three balls that you're playing represent three kids that have been locked into a house with somebody who wants to kill them. So the idea is to try and find the 6 keys that will open up and unlock the door to get you out of the house. So the modes are the keys. So you can kind of think about the playfield as you're inside the house. I have an upper playfield. The upper playfield here represents the attic of the house. This long red ramp, the red ramp circles around, goes underneath and comes back. And it represents the second story of the house. One of the modes is to check upstairs, so you have to hit the upstairs ramp like 3 times in a row in a certain amount of seconds in order to complete that mode. One of the more interesting things is the silver tube here that you see is representing like an HVAC, so like air conditioning, aluminum tunnel, or a steel tunnel that is in your house. And the ball, one of your players will get through this section of the game and then have to fall down in. So I don't know, I think it's kind of interesting. I can show some of the art that I've done too as part of this stream if people are interested in seeing kind of what my concept is for playfield art as I've gone. I'm going to keep the glass on for now, but I'm having some stuck ball issues. It's not playing as well as I had hoped for this first stream. But let's see if we can play a couple games, and then maybe I'll take the glass off and do some stuff manually if I need to show it off. It's not coded all the way. I only have it coded up to the point the first 3 modes. I'm happy to talk about the rest of it, show where I'm at in the code. Like I said, this is a work in progress, but I thought it might be interesting for people to see. I also wanted to have this as a record. This will be saved to YouTube, the RenoPinball YouTube page, so it'll be a record of the gameplay footage. Anyways, let's see how we do. Start a game off. Mission Pinball Framework is an excellent code base because it gets you out of the gate really fast. The hardware I'm using is P-Rock by Multimorphic, their controller board. I have no playfield lights right now. I am using Fade Candy, but it's very hard to understand what's going on, which is why, this is definitely You know, this is the second play field, so there's definitely some changes that need to be made. And the next time I cut a play field, it will have inserts. I actually do have some lights that are working. They're just in the bottom of the cabinet right now. There's nowhere for them to come up. So anyways. A lot of auto plunger. A lot of the parts that are on here have been 3D printed. So for example, the scoop is actually 3D printed, and there's a whole mech underneath that is a ball trough. I don't know if you can see right here. There's a hole where the ball will go down, and that's my closet. So you can get behind there and go in the closet lock, similar to Away Team and Star Trek or similar. So find the keys to open the door. So I'm going to hit the right orbit to light scoop for mode start. So I need to hit the right orbit to unlock my mode at the scoop. I'm really just learning about this. I'm no expert on anything, but I'm learning as I go. The screen and how it displays and how things layer on the screen is probably my biggest hurdle as far as that goes. So you may see the screen act a little funky. But anyways, let's see if I can hit loop. And then you can see it says hit scoop to start a mode. So if I get in that scoop, there's a couple of ways to do it because I have a subway that connects it. So right there I hit a drop target that's behind that ramp. Now that I have it on this flipper, I'll try and hit it directly, but I can also try and sneak in under that ramp and get there that way too. Kind of depends on what flipper I'm on. So now that I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and try and do this. Whoa. That orbit again. For here, it's really late, similar to like Guardians of the Galaxy, or maybe the Metallica scoop. That was a failure, ball 2. Nothing continues yet, so in order to do a mode, I have to do another orbit. Like I said, I don't know how long this will be because there's not a lot to show, and there's not like an interesting story or interesting music. This is a sound, if you can hear it, that is just kind of a placeholder sound that I'm trying to convey the feel of just, you know, creepy in the house, in a stranger's house, locked in creepy music. Oh. That was bad. Okay, anyways, that's a 3-ball game. No questions. Okay, I'm just gonna play a couple more games. Maybe some people will come in and want to talk about this. Like I said, this might be short. If there's a lot of interest in what I'm doing, I may just do some stuff to have the stream saved for posterity. Okay, so there's the orbit. Now I need to hit the scoop. That'll work. Oh. So that's one of the things I want to talk about in the code. Like right now, that seems to be shooting right down the middle, but I can adjust the power of that kick out. So I can adjust the power on that coil and change the way that that ball behaves. I'd like it to be faster, you know. Right now, the problem with making it fast is that that's a 3D printed plastic scoop. So I've got to be careful as far as durability goes. I don't want to break the plastic scoop, so I can't have it too fast. So that was an example of the quiet, and I hit the scoop, and since I came around and hit the scoop, I hit the switch, so now I'm actually in the mode. This mode's called Be Quiet. The idea behind this mode is I'm going to have everything go dark. There might be like a GI heartbeat, and you'll hear a heartbeat sound, and then you have to hit this one single target next to the ramp, and you have to hit that shot without hitting anything else to succeed. So that technically would be a failure, although I don't have it coded yet to be a failure because I'm just trying to get stuff working. So I won't fail now, but technically hitting that switch, I would have failed this mode. That was a successful mode. And then you saw for a second that there was actually a bonus to get. I kind of want to do something where after you complete a mode, you have a chance to collect a bonus for the mode. I don't really have the logic thought out as far as is it based on how many shots you've made to get to the mode or something like that. I was thinking it might be cool if you could stack them, so as long as you are on the same ball, you could maybe hold those over. The risk reward is don't collect the bonus until you've completed 2 or 3 modes. And then maybe your mode will be ×2 or your mode bonus might be ×2 or ×3, or depending on how many modes are stacked. That kind of thing, that's kind of the idea. Okay, well, let's try one more here. Bring this up here, I can see if people are watching. You would think, since I designed it, I would be able to shoot it perfectly every time, but that just is not the case. And like there's an example of something that I don't necessarily know why exactly it's doing it. It did not count that. So maybe one of my switches is not sensitive enough. I am using opto switches and standard switches. So maybe I've got a switch or something here. Let's see if do something with ball 3. There it is. Okay, so hit the scoop, start a mode. Probably try and go for that secret way. The plastic scoop, of course, has some give to it, which makes it kind of hard to hit as well because it's a little bendy. I'm sure you can see it flex. Try this way and there. So now I've got this. So now I've got the drop target down, but there's a drop target in front of the hole, so you have to hit the drop target first. It's definitely, you know, every time you play, it seems like there is something to be learned. And obviously, every single part on this is basically a prototype part. So some of that is, you know, well, these parts need to be made a little better for some reason. Something, you know, some smoothing on the ramps so that they're, You know, this big 3D printed ramp is kind of rough. So you kind of have to think about, well, when I get the final ramp, it's going to be smoother, so it's going to inherently be faster. Okay, sorry, playing terrible. It's hard to talk and play. Don't see anybody in here, right? So I guess that's fine. I could have the music stop at the end. It's just I just don't have that code in there. Just, you know, just simply it's not there. I can just have on game end music, but I don't have it in there. I'm not even sure if the music's coming through, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, I don't know why that's not registering on that loop every time. Must have a switch out of alignment. Whoa! Up and over. There it is, finally. Okay, so if I can get in the scoop, maybe I can actually do a mode here. Okay, again, since I'm on this flipper, I'm going to try and do the orbit shot around. I think I need the flippers a little stronger. I've changed the incline, trying to mess with how the game plays. And again, that's one of the things I wanted to show people, was how you can change those kinds of things in the code. So, I'm going to go over and switch to the code because I definitely want to change the scoop. Because it's kicking out to that, it's kicking out basically down the middle. So I'm going to actually, I want to speed it up eventually, but for now I'm going to slow it down and try and get it to come like to this flipper. And then I think I'm going to also increase the flipper power because they seem kind of weak as it gets up around the orbits. At least the right one. Maybe the left one's okay. I'll take a look in the code. So give me 1 second. I've created a camera view here so I can switch to. So here you can see this is the code, the code for the pinball machine. So this may not interest very many people, but I thought I'm going to walk through it anyways, just again so that there's some record of what is going on with this. So basically your machine is built of several different folders. You got, you've got your config folders, some data. The fade candy folder is where the light stuff is set up. Fonts, because I'm using that custom font on the screen. Images, I'm not showing any images, but there's a folder to put image, like a background image, or whatever you might have for images. Logs, modes. Modes is where most of the code is. Show, sounds. So anyways, lots of times when you look at the tutorial, they'll have you do a config file, and the config file will have kind of everything in it. But I didn't like that because I felt like it would be too hard to find stuff in the future. So I decided that I would break it out. I'd seen somebody else do this in theirs, and I thought it was a smart idea. I am not a coder by trade. This is probably something that I'm going to struggle with the most, is the code, because I'm learning as I go, and I've had people help. I've had some help already, and I'll probably need more help. But anyway, so basically in the config file, it just calls all the other config files. So if I wanted to look at, say, a hardware change that I want to make, then you can look in the hardware file, and here's where you can see you can see that the hardware that I'm using, you can see I've included a blurb here on how to actually set the switches up, because it just seemed like a right place to put it, so I wouldn't have to look at a different file or a different document to know exactly what I'm doing. And then you've got your switches, you know, so left ramp top, that switch number is SO, and it's normally closed. Those are opto switches, because I know that just by the fact that it's normally closed, right? It says so right here, of course, which is nice, but an opto switch is a connection of light, right? A light beam that comes across, and that has closed the circuit. And when your ball passes through it, it opens the circuit. And so these switches are normally closed, and that way the software knows when it opens, it's on. When it's closed, it's off. You'll see all other switches that come in. I don't even have it listed because by default, normally open is the default. So unless you're going to go normally closed, you don't even have to have it in there. It just does it by accident. So anyway, I'm going to come down here and look for the coils. You can see I have I'm doing some matrix switches as well. I think given what I have with my P-Rock board, I can do 64 switches in an 8x8 matrix and 32 direct switches. So that's the total number of switches that I can have in my game without adding any more hardware. And as you can see, I have several in here, and then we get down to a point where I have some that are unassigned. So that's good. Hopefully I still have some things to assign. So as I build new mechs and build things, then I have this many switch placeholders available to me. So hopefully that's going to be good. Coil section. So again, coils are part of the hardware. So again, I've listed out kind of the instructions on how to do it, and then the coils are here. So for example, what do we want to look at? We wanted to look at the flipper power for one. So I have the default pulse milliseconds, and that's how long power is pulsed to the coil. And so 17, I'm saying, is probably fine for the left flipper. The right main flipper, you can see how much lower, like the right upper flipper, only pulses for 8 milliseconds. Because just everything is closer to it, there's no reason for that one to pulse. Because that's basically how hard is it going to hit. But I do want to make the right main stronger. So let's go up to 20 on the power for that and see if 20 is good. The other thing that I want to look at was the VOOC. So I wanted to change. Yeah, so the default pulse is 8. And again, probably 10 would be good if it was metal. But I'm going to actually drop it down to 7 and see if I can just change it just slightly so that I get a better chance of catching that off the flipper. So if I save this file, and now when I start a game, those changes will be in the system. But anyways, I want to look at some of these other ones. So, there's an audio files where you set up kind of your default audio. There's files for basically everything you can think of, right? A display, lights, modes. So you see in the modes, here are kind of a list of all the modes. And so what this file does is it can look into that modes folder, and then there should be a directory for each one of these modes. And it's how you set it up. So all these modes are active, and these ones that are kind of turned off, this little pound sign basically means that that's turned off. So you can see that those ones are just turned off now, which means basically I haven't done any code for them, or they're not working well enough yet. Some of them are maybe holdovers, like obviously Launch Ball does work, but what this Launch Ball and background music were me kind of trying to figure out how to add sounds and add graphics. So I did like a Launch Ball graphic, and that's what that kind of mode is for the Launch Ball graphic. Obviously, it wasn't working right, so it's just turned off. So you can see the modes in here. let's look at the modes folder. So in the modes folder, so here again, like I just said, here's all the folders that kind of represent the modes that we're looking at in here. So these are all called by the modes config file. So, for example, if we look at the bathroom mode, there's a bathroom file in here, and so this is the bathroom config file. So it really just talks about starting the mode, when it starts when the mode starts, and then what you have to do in the mode. So it's pretty straightforward. I like how straightforward the code is. What events do you have to do? What do you do? Events when complete. So what do you want to do once these events have been done? So again, for the bathroom, you have to hit the drop target bank and then hit the target in the back of that drop target bank area. So, you know, it's pretty straightforward. Slides is how the screens are identified. So this is what comes up on the screen. So the slides, you know, says bathroom mode and lists the kind of font it is and how the font is all set up. Bathroom 2 mode would be that bonus mode. So that's why I have the get the bonus is the text that it shows on the screen. So anyways, I know that's a lot to take in, but I just wanted to kind of show what that code looked like. So what I want to do now, actually, we're going to go back and play a game and see if those two changes that were made in the hardware file make any difference in the flipper power and the scoop eject. So let me go back to the pinball machine and then start a new game. This one here. When I start this new game, when I run MPF, it's going to basically launch the software and take me to the start screen. And now it's loaded all those new config files, or all those config files, including the one that was modified. Uh-oh, it's confused. It's confused because of how long it took to feed the ball out. So I think we're okay. Ball 2, we're just gonna kind of clear this game out. If we clear this game out, it should be okay. Just gonna do 2 balls per thing. Error checking is something that I'm trying to figure out. I don't understand it very well. Okay. Part of the problem was that I had the ball in the shooter lane when I turned the game on, and so it wasn't checking for that correctly in order to say, you know, it's missing a ball or it needs to find a ball. Okay, so anyways, let's try that again with no balls in weird places. Oh, so that was a lot slower out, but it still wasn't great. So I probably need to come down a little bit more. Not having any luck starting a mode here. Okay. There's an upstairs look, so it's a bagatelle idea where you're hitting those nails and then fall down the ball down the HVAC tunnel. That power was definitely better around that orbit. Whoa! That was interesting. I don't know what happened there. It didn't actually drain correctly. So what that means is there is a ball in the apron, unfortunately. Don't know how it got there though. Okay, so I need to take the glass off here. Maybe we'll just leave the glass off and play with the glass off after this. The ball has found its way to the bottom of the cabinet. So I'll take this opportunity, since it actually still thinks I'm playing this game and there's a ball. So we'll go in the scoop. And so this is the kitchen mode. I'm going to put the lock bar on it because this is uncomfortable on my hands. So the kitchen mode is the pop bumper mode. My idea is that the kitchen would kind of be designed with a different kind of floor, you know, an old linoleum floor. Maybe the pop bumper caps would be like countertops in the kitchen. That kind of thing. For testing purposes, I only have it needing to hit like 2 times. So you can see I'm already on the get the bonus. So now what I want to do is bring the orbit around to get the bonus. Okay, so since I have the glass off, I want to go ahead and start a game manually because I want to just kind of play with this speed. Sorry about that sound you can hear, and my neighbor is, I don't know what he's doing. So I think this is pretty good, right? But it's still kind of right in the middle. What I'd like it to do is kind of come down and like hit right here. So we're going to go ahead and does have a ball save. I'm going to go ahead and escape the ball there. And what I want to do is I want to make that quick change to the code. I'm not going to change screens, as we've seen that. So let me just change the power for the scoop. We had it at 7 and we're going to try 6. Save that file. Once the file's saved, I will start the game again. And it boots into Mission Pinball Framework. And again, I just want to see what the power on the scoop is. So there's 6. So you can see a distinct difference between 7 and 6. Now it's falling down to this flipper. Not exactly what I want for sure, but it's just plastic, right? So you can see, you know, that it's just a wibbly wobbly piece of plastic. So I want it faster in the real game, but for my purposes here, I don't want to break the scoop. The last thing I want is for like the ball to be shot up, break the scoop, and then come fly out of the machine or hit me in the face or hit the glass and break it or something. So that's the cool thing about, you know, this framework is it's very versatile. I'm thinking it's probably really loud because there's no glass right now. Oh, so there's maybe not quite hard enough, right? Okay, so the bathroom mode. So this is one that I showed you. So this is the bathroom. So the key's hidden in the bathroom in the story, right? So you got to find the key in the bathroom. So in order to do that, you got to hit the 2 drop targets down here, and then hit there's a target kind of hidden in the back. And of course, I definitely plan on doing some, you know, there'll be plastics on top of that, which again, I can go through and kind of show art and layout, design of kind of the table. So you can see what that looks like too. Again, like I said, nothing stays. Nothing carries over right now. I don't have it programmed to carry over. I don't know how. I don't know how to have things carry over to the next game, to the next ball. So I need to figure that out because obviously once you have a mode started, I would like to have started that ball with bathroom mode. Maybe it brings back up the drop target, so you have to do those again, but I don't want you to have to start over every ball. That's definitely not a goal. Hey Borg Dog, how are you doing? Yeah, I think this might be a really quiet stream. Might just be for my posterity because I've got pretty much active viewers is pretty low. So I'm just trying to explain stuff kind of for myself. I'll save this to YouTube at RenoPinball YouTube page, so I have a history of what's going on. So I'm kind of talking to myself, but I'm happy to answer questions along the way. Is it too loud with the glass off? Can you hear, is the clacking of the coils too loud? Can you hear me if I'm doing this? Okay, thanks. Okay, so we're just going to leave the glass off then because there's lots of problems and lots of reasons to need the glass off at this stage of development. Now I can manually walk through some of the modes so you can actually see them instead of see me not get them. Okay, so there's the orbit, lights the scoop. If you think light, think of a light here that's pointing to arrow flashing, hit the scoop. Miss the scoop. So definitely the things you learn playing, like just playing this a little bit tonight, at the slope that I have the table now, I think that what I've learned is that it's a little too tight at the top. That orbit has to be kind of too perfect. So I can open that up on my next design. I like that feed for now. It was soft and yeah, see that should have been fine, but there's a post that I just need to do some modifications to the placement on, so that it doesn't have to be a perfect shot. See, there's an issue where I have to deal with that in design as well, either by dropping that rubber down a little bit so that the ball falls vertical, or some other change to make that not stuck there. Maybe the drop target just needs to be uber sensitive. Right now the pop bumpers are not very sensitive, so as it bangs around in there, I say that, but they really aren't. That's kind of a wimpy feed out of the scoop, but for me it's perfect because, again, I don't want to break that piece of plastic right now. I'd rather not have that be an added to my drama of tonight here. Okay, we'll try this one more time legitimately, and then I'll do a stern instructional video and just play with my hands here. Here's going to be a good shot. So there's the subway. So it goes in there, comes around, and comes out the scoop. The subway has two entrances. The secret door in the back of the attic, which there's a mode for the attic where there'll be like in the art and in the screen there'll be like a secret bookcase or something that moves out of the way on a diverter. So when you are in the attic mode, you're going to have to come up here and negotiate your way to fall down this. When you fall down this, there's a switch here. You'll hit that switch and that'll open the diverter, and then you can shoot again up and it'll be timed to go behind the bookcase. That has a hole in the very back where the ball will fall down and it's into the same subway, and then it can come all the way around. This subway in the closet, that also connects to the same place. So let me play manually here and I can show some other things off. So again, so you get the ball, and you miss the orbit even there. Yeah, that's way too tight in the back. I had it at 6 degrees, and it's amazing. So this is 6.5 degrees, and that half a degree has caused that to just be a little bit too perfect of a shot needed. So I've made the orbit, and now I can hit the scoop to start a mode. So it randomly selects from 3 different modes. I have 3 modes that I've considered the easier modes, and then there'll be a mini wizard mode, and then there'll be 3 modes that I think are harder modes. And again, the modes are the keys, so your object is to find the key. This particular mode, called Be Quiet, I think this will be mostly displayed on the screen by you sneaking into maybe a room where somebody's asleep, and you have to get the key out of the drawer right without waking him up, that kind of an idea. So if you hit any of the other switches, the mode, you'd have to start over again. Maybe 2 switch warnings or something, I don't know. I have to play it a lot to figure out that kind of difficulties. But if you hit the 1 switch required for the mode, again, there'll be a flashing light, you know, obviously here, boom. Get the bonus. The pop you heard was a drop target resetting. So if you hit this drop target, and then go in there, then you've collected that bonus. So that would be key 1 done, key light lit up on the table, and now you're basically going to do that same thing, rinse repeat for the next 2 modes. So we'll go into mode scoop, kitchen mode, which again is pop bumpers. Oh, now of course I can go. So it'll hit a pop bumper here, and that'll be good. So now I got the bonus, and this is timed. I don't know how to put the timer on screen yet. So this will just time out if we just let it time out, or you can try and do the shot. Which again is 2 shots, or I can drain the ball. So now I have 2 modes done. So now the third mode of the bottom 3 modes is, I know it's the bathroom, but it's the last mode. You can see I've got Playfield 2X now lit in the center of the thing. And, excuse me, so you can see complete escape lanes to activate Playfield multiplier. So what that is if you spell from left to right, it's E-S-C-A-P and then E. And without any lights to indicate it, you know, you can actually kind of see there's some lights in the bottom. There's a lot of lights lit up now. So, it's, you know, so now I've lit 2X for the rest of this ball because I spelled escape randomly. Hello, Wolfman. How you doing? Yeah, I do have an AC duct ramp. It comes from the attic and feeds down. And I figure the sounds in the video, you know, some graphics will be like some little kid like clanking through the HVAC tube. So we need to do another orbit. Although I have that weird stuck switch thing happening here again. So I don't know why it's not registering this orbit. There it is. I think it's a switch that is just slightly out of adjustment. So something like that. So I know already that this mode, so this mode is bathroom. So if you've hit the targets down, it resets the targets for the bathroom mode. So I have to hit those 2 targets down, and then I can hit the target that's kind of hidden in the back from the camera view. I can't imagine it's visible. So there's one. There's the secret entrance. So boom. So once you hit that target, again, the bonus, you can play. It has a timeout. So you can try and get there. Oh. This needs some adjustment because it's a little too flat. So you come through here, again, bagatelle style, bouncing it. And that's drops on that box. Think of these these are just 3D printed, but the idea is that they'll be, you know, painted or graphic to look like boxes in the attic. I can show you some stuff on the art. I'll show some stuff on the art after, you know, on the code page, and we can look at what kind of my ideas are for that. So now this is kind of the end of the game as far as what's coded. Hit the ramp targets. So you hit the 4 targets sequentially in front of that, and then this is what would start what I'm calling the bash the door mode. And what's going to happen is back here there's going to be a door that comes up out of the play field, and you'll have to bash that door maybe 3, 4, I don't know how many times. Obviously that'll be adjustable and have to be played to know. You know, and then like the door will drop back down, and you know the voice will be, "You idiot, we need to find the rest of the keys." and then you'll have the 3 harder modes, and then the door will come back. Then you'll do the door again to actually escape the house. So anyways, that's kind of the game as it is. I think that what I want to do is sit down and maybe look at the code a little bit more now that some people are here, and maybe look at some of the art if people are interested in seeing that. So let me switch views here. Again, thank you everybody. Anybody who's hanging in here, this is, I know, not your typical pinball stream. It's a little more technical than that. Wolfman, thanks. I appreciate that a lot. Hopefully you're kind of into this kind of thing too, so you understand what we're talking about here. I'm using Mission Pinball Framework, and I'm using P-Rock hardware. Again, pretty much everything on the playfield is prototype stage right now. 3D print, a lot of 3D printed parts. It is written in Python, yes. So again, if you remember what we did, and it worked pretty good. It's not the right solution by any means, but I changed this scoop VOOC power to 6 milliseconds for the pulse, and that made it super soft. The reality is it'll be hard, it'll be super fast and shoot out, you know, to the other flipper, but I don't want to break that plastic right now. So I just have it super soft because that is just a 3D printed scoop and I don't want to break it. But that's really cool. You know, it's really cool that you can adjust all of these things. I mean, you can see these are all the coils. So we're looking at all of the coils. So the auto plunge, the trough eject, the flipper power. So you can see my upper flipper. I'm only pulsing for 8 milliseconds because it doesn't have very far. It doesn't have very many things to hit up there. There's 4 shots, but they're all pretty close. The left main flipper, we left at 17. The right flipper at 20 I thought was good. So I'm happy with that change. I was able to make the ramp easier. And I was able to make that orbit smoother. So I thought that was good. So I would basically consider that good for now. We look at the base. So the base mode is basically when you start a game, you start a mode. That mode just happens to be default or base, or, you know, the first thing you're doing. So you see the starting event for this mode is ball starting. So as soon as the ball starts, you're starting this event. So this is where you have things like the ball save. I have the sound player turning on the music. Turning on that BG1 music that I have playing. The ball save. So I have 10 seconds theoretically. I have active time of 8, and then actually 12 because I have a hurry up, and then a grace period of 2 seconds as well. So that's just, you know, to help make this better right now. I have the out lanes. If you hit an out lane, that's an early ball save event. So you know how some older games, the outlane switches don't count. You know, you hitting the outlane switch doesn't give you your ball back. You have to like pray that it hits the trough switch in time. This has a setting so you can have it hit the ball save early. You know, I know that can be problematic. If you think about things like death saves and stuff like that, sometimes this is a switch that you don't want to have it. But, you know, this is a home use game. No one's playing this but me. If anyone tries to bang back on this game, they'll probably never play any of my games ever again. You know, you can pick how many balls you want. You want to have 2 or 3 ball saves. I wanted it to auto launch on the ball save, so it auto launches a ball save. You don't get a second loop there. Then you list, you know, it has all your shots listed. Then if you have sequence shots, so let's say, like for example, I like the right orbit, right? It seemed like the right orbit was having a problem counting. So the switch sequence for the right orbit is you have to hit the switch. The S stands for switch, and then you hit the right orbit switch, the center orbit switch, and then the left orbit switch. So, you know, you have a switch that's on, you know, that comes through, and then one at the top, and then one on the left. So if you look at the left orbit switch, it's exactly opposite. So that way the game knows which way you made the orbit. Did you make it from the left or did you make it from the right? And then there's also a center orbit because I have that other little center ducking orbit. So that counts another switch, the skill save switch, which skill save is kind of something that I want to talk about. I think it's kind of cool, and it's something I haven't seen before. I don't know if it exists, but I kind of coined the phrase skill save. And my thought is that if you play really poorly on a game, ball one, like you haven't done anything, maybe a score under a score threshold or a time threshold, that you'll have this chance to save your ball one if you drain. And so you'll have to do a specific shot. You have to plunge a specific shot, and if you plunge that specific shot, you'll get to continue ball one. And if you don't plunge that shot, then the ball will just drain. Your flippers won't be active during that plunge. The ball will just drain, and then you'll be on to ball two. You missed your skill save. So that's kind of the idea. Ramp tart, the subway. So I don't have that top. There will be three. Like I said, there's 3 entries, but right now I just have 2 switches active. And then things like you can group things like rollover lanes. So this is how I got that rollover lane. I haven't, Borg Dog, I haven't tackled multi-ball at all yet, so I have no idea. I think you're probably much further along in this than me. But hopefully I can get into it. I want to do, that shot behind the upper right flipper. I'm calling it the closet lock. So it'll be, hide in the closet kind of a scenario. So if you can get 3 kids hidden in the closet, then I want to do like a closet multi-ball. That'll be one of the multi-balls. So I'm definitely, I'm close to thinking about how to do the multi-ball. And then you have some counters, and this is just counters. These are just actions. Like, what do you want the pinball machine to keep track of? So, for example, I want the pinball machine to keep track of shots, so it knows where I'm at in the game. So, one shot I want to keep track of is the light mode. So this is where when the game starts or when either of the 3 modes are complete, it looks for you to hit that orbit again, basically. See, right orbit hit. And it's cool because you can do you can say you have to do it 1 time, 10 times, 100 times, whatever you want to do. That's pretty cool. And then once it does that, it moves on. So when completed, it says light mode select complete and the mode select starts. So that means that a new mode starts that says go in that scoop. And that's light mode 2. I have this in here because I wanted to have both directions. So this is a left orbit. So I was just playing around with, maybe the left orbit does other, I just figured there's no point in not having it count kind of everything. Bonus qualify. So this is where you're counting those bonuses. So when the rollover lane's complete, like I talked about, so you spell escape 1 time, then playfield bonus start. So those kind of things. Upstairs loops. So I want to count like upstairs loops, like mini game, lots of pinball machines. I'm not inventing the wheel here, right? Many pinball machines have, hit the ramp, 50 times for an extra ball or whatever. So I'm just playing around with counting that ramp, counting the ramp loops. Right now, if you do 5 shots, upstairs loops, it starts the upstairs loops complete. I honestly don't even know if I have an upstairs loop complete mode here. So, but it's just things that are programmed in that I wanted to count. Accruals is another way to count them. So I wanted to have a super spinner mode. So this is my spinner qualified. So to qualify the spinner mode, you have to hit the 4 targets, ramp target 1, 2, 3, and 4, and those are the targets in front of the ramps. So if you hit those targets, then you get spinner qualify complete and super spinner mode start. And so then that lights, so hitting those 4 targets lights the spinner for super spinner mode, whatever that happens to be. So here's where I'm using the upstairs. So, okay, upstairs loop's complete. So if you complete the upstairs loop, that's what I have awarding an extra ball. So you'll get an extra ball if you hit that loop 5 times right now. These codes are this code is, you know, nothing special. It's a starting point. It's a jumping off point to then start being able to play it and see what needs to be changed, what's working, what isn't working, what's too hard, what's too easy. And the slide player is everything on the screen. Everything that pops up on the screen is part of, it's where it's kind of, if you think of PowerPoint, for lack of a better application. So everything is like a slide. So all these slides pile onto the screen. You know, find the key to open the door. These are things that you should have seen as I was playing. Hit the right orbit to light the start mode. Hit the left orbit 2 times. Like that's, so this is one that I'm not using right now. Multiplier. So this is a complete escape. So that shows on the screen. You know, so all kinds of things like that are in here. And then, of course, the scoring. So here's kind of the scoring for all of the switches and things that happen. But anyways, let's look at some pictures I have. So I'm just going to, I think that it's probably best to maybe just walk through these. Let me move chat, though, so I can see that and walk through them. Sorry, 1 second. So I did this table, I designed this table in the very beginning. I used, well, actually, if I go all the way back to the beginning, my first step was I knew that I wanted a traditional pinball machine. I didn't want anything weird or wacky. I didn't want to reinvent the wheel, and I liked standard traditional Italian bottom pinball machine, lower thirds. So I played a ton of games. I played everything I could get my hands on. And I found a game that had a lower third that I liked, that I thought was cool, that you know, that allowed me to do a post pass, that was set up in a way that I liked and was set up in a way that I wanted to emulate. And I quite frankly took some measurements off that game and transferred those measurements into Fusion 360. Fusion 360 is the application that I'm using to build out all of this 3D rendering. So I put it into the Fusion 360, and I also went into Visual Pinball, which was an absolute outstanding resource. I built my table in Virtual Pinball before I ever cut a piece of wood. The design changed probably 20 or 30 times in Virtual Pinball before I ever had to. So, you know, if you think about that in the real world, that was, you know, maybe not 30, but maybe 15 whitewoods. Maybe 15 whitewoods that I didn't have to make because I could tell very quickly that it wasn't going to work. Shots weren't going to work how I wanted them to work. Things weren't going to line up how I wanted to line up. Or even worse, there isn't enough room underneath the playfield, because that's kind of the biggest battle, is where do all these mechanisms live? They live on the bottom, and nobody sees them, and they're big and in the way of everything, and it's annoying. Anyway, so once I got comfortable and wanted to go ahead and actually make a whitewood, I needed to create a CAD file that a whitewood could be cut from, because I had the ability to cut with a CNC machine at the time. So I broke out Fusion 360 and started to basically replicate the layout from Virtual Pinball, and I put it into Fusion 360. So what I have here is just an idea of, I didn't render every single step along the way, but this is a pretty good idea of kind of the design flow. So this is kind of where I got to in Virtual Pinball, was to this phase. You can see things like the upper playfield is kind of roundy and organically shaped, and I thought that was kind of cool, but then later on, I thought, well, no, because it's going to be a house, so it needs to be an angular shape, because a house doesn't have curves like that. So I'm just going to scroll through some of these and I'll stop and highlight some of the ones that I think you can see some changes. Some of them, to be perfectly honest, I'm just playing with the render engine in the Fusion 360 because I had never used Fusion 360 before, so I was curious how well the render engine rendered field of view and things like that. Here is an idea. So right here you can see that's the door that is going to be coming up out of the playfield. That's the idea of the door that comes up. You have to bash the door. From this view, actually, you can see there's the drop targets for the bathroom, the target back there, and you can see here, there's where I have a sling up here to create havoc in the top, and you can kind of see that drop target poking through underneath the ramp. So here it is with some metal rails, just defining some areas. Again, you can see the door. I still have the round. I've dropped some pins in though. Here's a pretty good view. So from here you can see the sling in the top. I have a captive ball that has a target, so it comes up and hits the target, and then there's that drop target that behind there is the opening. Just playing with plastics and again playing with the render engine. This was my idea. This is where the idea came to be that attic would need to look more like an attic. So I started thinking about how to do art. What do I want? So I thought it'd be cool if the attic had a dark, dingy, old oriental rug. And again, these are boxes, so the balls fall into boxes. I thought that might look kind of cool. You can see I still haven't decided. This is where I really thought, okay, the round probably isn't working now. Playing with depth of field, just to render. Pretty good though, for software you can use for free, you know, an education license software, render engine is pretty nice actually. For a while I thought how cool it would be to have like a limousine black playfield like that. I just thought that might be kind of cool looking, and so I rendered it to see, and I'm like, yeah, it is kind of cool looking actually. Anyway, I'm still rounded, but I'm getting some more detail, just making some deciding choices. It varies, of course, and I have a pretty powerful computer. So on my, I have an i7 like 5800, and a render like this, I would say, is a render like the other one, because obviously the more straightforward, the faster. But you get something like this where you have depth of field it's dealing with. This render probably took about 3 hours. I've had older computers where a render like that would take all night. You can see the captive ball, the captive ball mech I bought. I rendered everything I had to go out and like purchase. I went ahead and still rendered it in 3D, so I had the part and I had the piece. Okay, so here is the step where I decided, okay, so the house needs to have squares, not rounded walls, right? So this was the step where I squared off the wall, and my first thought was, well, it might be kind of cool if it was like an x-ray of the house. So I thought, well, I'll do clear walls because I wanted to have clear vision, in there while you're playing it. And I'll do like studs. So that's kind of what that represents, is like the idea of a studded wall that you kind of are seeing through into the attic. So you come up the ramp, you come across the banisters where you're still kind of in the house, and then boom, you're in the attic and you can see around the attic. I've also now starting playing with, do I want these to be powder coated wireforms? Am I interested in chrome wireforms, that kind of thing? I've also started to kind of think about plastics, flat plastic tops. A close-up of, this is the upper playfield standing alone. You can see here's like the trap, here's like the diverter. So when the diverter closes, then the ball can come down and it falls in a hole that's hidden back there. I'm probably have a shot where you can see the hole better. Looking for some changes here. Again, a field of view shot. Here's where I'm starting to play with plastic design. So I built this plastic so that like sneak alleyway behind the scoop, I kind of wanted that covered. That's going to be like a secret passage kind of a feel. You see now that the plastic will cover the bathroom. So on top of the top of the plastic, of course, will be artwork that represents, that you're in the bathroom. Still liking the powder coated rails, but very soon, there it is. Very soon I've tried chrome. I think I have settled on liking the chrome. Actually, it might not be chrome because, again, my kind of art direction is that this is an older house. It's not like a haunted mansion. It's just an old house in an old neighborhood. So I think it might need to be like rusty metal stuff, like powder coated or something, so it's smooth, but it looks like it's rusty. I've seen them do that a few times. Started working with lighting. How is it going to light up? How's it going to look? How much GI lighting do I need? You can see I'm pretty locked in on the rug and the top. I really have liked that idea. New plastic here, just wrapping around some things. And then very soon here, we're going to see the next chain. There it goes. So I kind of thought that the X-ray and seeing the studs wasn't very cool after all. Yeah, old galvanized pipe kind of look, exactly. I don't know, I just didn't like it, so I ended up thinking that maybe, again, you can kind of see the slit, that's where the door comes up out of the ground, and there's another little feature down here, and that's part of the skill save that I'll talk about too. I just thought, well, maybe it should just be the siding. You're just looking at the siding of a house, so tattered siding that just fades to nothing. It's not so tall you can't see into there still, so just more of an exterior of a house feel, I think, is what I was going for, and I think that's where I've settled. I think I like that. The, I don't know, the studs maybe seemed a little too campy or something. So at this stage, I was pretty happy with where I was, and I started thinking about the art a little more. I like the chrome rails. The plastics all seem like they're kind of in order. They're all clear in this picture because I just thought that I'll just do clear. I can see what's going on. So I thought, well, let's drop it into a cabinet. So I went ahead and designed the cabinet. The cabinet that this is custom built. This is not a cabinet that was in it, though I had another machine in. This is 100% built from scratch. Cabinet and everything. So I did take the designs off of a WPC 9.5. Those were the measurements. So like that era cabinet I like the feel of those cabinets. So that's kind of what I emulated. Apron, just again, does it fit? You know what I mean? You gotta like, how tall is those pieces? Is it gonna fit in a cabinet? So here's where we start thinking about art. So I first started thinking, okay, well, probably a hardwood floor. You can see some blood splatter. Some stuff has happened here, right? This is not a friendly house. Again, if you missed the beginning, I'm going for a horror theme. This is not a happy horror theme. This is not Goofy. This is not Scooby-Doo. This is, try and see if I can actually scare you. That's my goal. My goal, if I can actually scare the player, then I feel like I've achieved my goal. This is a tunnel tube. That third box on the upper playfield feeds down to the basement. This is the basement in the story. It makes a corkscrew into a cup. There's a cup back there that the ball kicks out of. And if you make it in that box, you'll feed down to the basement. That's the shot that exists, but I don't know what it's going to be or how it's going to be worth anything. I need to figure out how hard it is. So I started thinking about inserts, started thinking about art, how I want to represent things. So you have the everyday things, a ball save, some arrows, your typical stuff. And then this was kind of my starting point of like, okay, how do I represent the locks, and how do I display that? So there's white, and then I did some stuff where I just kind of threw some art in there. This is not anywhere near art. I was just playing around, but 6 different types of locks to think about what was on the door. Calling out areas. So that's the bathroom. It's upstairs. The basement, like I said, that's the basement, representing the kitchen. Be quiet. So just calling out where your modes are so you know what you're trying to do. Of course, those would blink and light when you're playing the game. But I wasn't happy. This did not make me happy at all. It was too, I don't know, too clean, too simple. This is the second idea that I had for the locks. And I do like this. So the idea, again, it's not like it's finished art. This is just kind of all like what I would call thumbnailed art. But the idea where you show a bigger picture of a doorway with 6 different locks on it, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you have that light up behind the lock. So you have the light shine through the art to say, blink when it's active, highlight when it's lit, that kind of a thing. Obviously, there's a ton of inserts that aren't on this. I haven't looked at like a multi-ball, right? I do have some playfield 2, 4, 8 kind of playfield multipliers, but there's a ton of lights a ton of inserts and lights that aren't on here yet are represented. And then this is kind of where it's at today. This is how far I am with it. I did settle on liking that doorway art. I have another piece of art that is kind of cool, like that is kind of the idea that the kids have drawn a map on like a napkin, so it's like a Sharpie on a napkin, which is kind of the layout of the house. But I felt like that was redundant because you're already looking at the layout of the house. But that's another idea I may explore in more depth. So again, for those that weren't here, the idea is that this custom game will be a horror-based game. You're 3 kids locked in a house with a killer, and you are trying to save yourselves and get out of the house. You do that by getting the 6 keys to open the 6 locks that are on the door. You do 3 modes. The door comes up. You have to hit the door. Door goes down. You do 3 more modes, and then you can hit the door again to get out. Along the way, of course, there's all the pinball-y things to do, combos and ramps and super spinners and all of that kind of stuff. This is the flap that covers the part of the skill save. So if you come back, the skill save shot, you'll launch the ball, it'll come around, and you'll have to come down that alley to achieve your skill save. If you come down a lane, you lose. If you do a full orbit, you lose. You have to hit this alley. If you hit that alley, what you're going to find in that alleyway is this flap. And it's going to be, the closest thing I can liken it to is a troll from Medieval Madness. And so when skill save starts, it's going to pop up a gun out of the playfield, like a little double-barreled shotgun. I figure I'll have 2 lights in the back. And so that pops up out of the playfield. That mech is not built yet, so I can't show it to you physically. I have all the parts, and I've been putting it together, but it's not done. And what you'll have to do is launch the ball. The ball will come around, and if you hit the back of it, the graphic will be like the kid rolls away, and you're back into ball 1 and you're playing. There'll be nothing active on the playfield, so you can't flip, you can't do much of anything. If you don't hit that shot, then the ball will just drain down, and you'll start ball 2. But that's your way to do a skill save to save your ball 1 if you've had a bad start. I decided I should probably put some glass on it to see if I clear. You can also see here, maybe it was in this anyway. No. I started thinking about what materials do I want the ramps made out of. Right here, clear plastic, red plastic. I started thinking about, do I want a metal ramp? One of my favorite games is Metallica. I love the sound the ball makes when it hits those metal ramps. That kind of whooshing sound. So I thought it'd be cool to have one metal ramp. Also, The friend I had that was doing a lot of work with me, he's kind of dropped off the planet, unfortunately. So I need to figure out other ways that I can achieve my end goal. Here's a good wider shot with some metal ramps just to see how they looked. This one will not be metal, but I think this one might be. I don't know, maybe opposite actually. This one maybe. The upstairs one would be metal. This ramp I think needs to be clear because it blocks too much. You can't see what's going on with the ball, and it blocks a lot of light. One thing that I thought was interesting that I might play with is up here in the top you can see that basically is a rudimentary lampshade. What I want to do when you get up into the attic, so the attic mode is going to be interesting because I have it bagatelle style. So you're going to have to bounce the balls off these little nails to get the ball where you want it to go. So you're going to hit the switch to get into the attic, and it's going to give you maybe 30 seconds of free tilt time. So I'll turn the tilt off for like 15 seconds or something. Who knows? I'll figure that out as I learn. But so what I want to do though is also turn off the lights down here, so you're focused on this upper play field. And what I want to be is pretty dark, and the main light, there may be some small ambient lights around, but the main light I want to have inside this lampshade. And then I want it to be loose, so that as you're shaking the machine, the lampshade, does this kind of a thing, and the light kind of bounces around underneath it as you're bouncing the ball around. And I thought that might look kind of cool and creepy when you're trying to bounce that ball into the HVAC tube or the super secret box. This is that super secret box up here. And then this box is just like the booby prize. You don't get anything. You just fall down on the ramp and you cut and try again. But I thought that would be a cool toy to have on the upper playfield, is a little lampshade. I thought, one of those old lampshades that has little frillies on it maybe, so that really, really accentuates the motion as you're bouncing the game around trying to get the ball to go where you want it to go. And that's pretty much it. It's pretty much as far as I've gotten on art and layout. So I guess, I'd love to have some questions if anybody has any questions they want to ask, or if anybody has anything they just want to talk about. Anybody out there doing a custom pinball machine that they're... Oh, I could show this. I did actually, like I said, I did build it in VP. So I can literally, play it in virtual pinball. Let me see if I can bring my chat back up so I can see it. Sorry. Yeah, in my head, that's exactly what I thought of, was that lamp from The Christmas Story. Yeah, you could cut off a Barbie legs, probably be the right scale, and throw a Barbie leg up there with a little lampshade on it. That might be perfect. But this will I actually play this table in virtual pinball. See how well this works on the stream. This might be a first. Too many things going on at once. But you can see that this is virtual pinball. This does not work. There's no code behind this because, quite frankly, I have no idea how to do code for virtual pinball. What is being worked on in that development kind of area of virtual pinball is the ability to take my Mission Pinball Framework code and have it run in virtual pinball. And I'm really hoping that happens, because if that happens, then I could actually play my code virtually, and that would be pretty cool. Right now, this basically, you can shoot. So it was good. I could test shots, see how shots work. And once you take the time to take all your measurements and do your measurements correctly and not be so concerned with how things look, just want them to be accurate and play right, the physics on this game are pretty good. You can actually consistently count on how the shots roll and make. I can hit that drop target down and fall in the hole. It'll come around and come out the scoop. So, it's pretty good. People kind of say, it's virtual, whatever. And I certainly agree, obviously. I have several pinball machines and I love them all. But this was a great way to do, initial development work for sure. it saved me a ton of work, a ton of playfield cutting, all that stuff. So anyway, if somebody is magically able to get that cross-pollination working. In fact, I think Borg Dog is one of the people working on that, kind of, maybe. Don't want to put words in your mouth. But, that'd be cool, because then when my table's done, I could, release it, I could release it on multiple platforms. Maybe, obviously, there's only one of these in the world, so, you're not going to come to my house and play it, but, maybe something that I could release, I would definitely release out to the virtual pinball community and let them have a crack at it. I think that'd be pretty cool. Oh, you're smart enough. Come on. Smarter than me. I just beat my head into the wall until the wall breaks. I'm running 70 volts. My power supply is a 70 volt power supply, which is why my pulse milliseconds are pretty low. Obviously, it doesn't take much at 70 volts. I'm of course using, I'm pulling a 12 volt run out of it. I'm pulling a 24 volt run out of it, and I'm pulling a 5 volt run out of it. But my power supply is a 70 volt power supply. See, if I look at my hardware, I've tried to be very clear about that when I do the coils, right? So this is the voltage, that's 70 volt on that master channel, 70 volt on that channel, and then I have one of these. No, I don't. One of these, my plan is in my PD16, which is the coil driver for the multimorphic P-Rock board. I'll be running one of these at like a 24 volt, so that I can run like my flashers and some of the other mechs that don't need to be done in high voltage. Yeah, Dan, my big deal was the first time, because this has been a long project for me, obviously. People out there, I have been working on this for a couple of years. I've moved 2 times. I've had, unfortunately, a whole year where I didn't have any place where I could work on this. So it's so helpful, because if you step away, I don't know about anybody else, but the older I get, I step away from it for 4 or 5 months, and I try and step back in, and it's like relearning everything. So I just said, I got to put this stuff in my code. I got to have my instructions here. I got to be able to look at this and pick up where I left off without starting over. But hopefully with this, I want to pick this up at full steam as I can be. I want to be a lot farther along than I am now. I'd like to, get at least most of the code working and the rest of the mechs done. I need to cut. I have the CAD ready for those inserts that were in the art. I need to get that playfield cut, but unfortunately I lost my ability to do some CNC cutting again. So I'm trying to find a place in Reno that I can get CNC cutting done. I'm not having very much success right now because nobody wants to do one playfield. So if I can get that done, I'm ready to cut another playfield right now that'll have some inserts in it. And that'd be great. I'd love to be able to drop some lights in this. You can see I have a lot. If you look at the lights, I have a ton of lights, coded, ready to go. And in fact, there's a light string in the base of the cabinet that a lot of the lights are lighting up and working. I just don't have any place to push them up through the playfield to be seen. But I definitely want to move forward as fast as I can. The last thing that I built was my display panel, which I think came out pretty nice with the speakers and the display. I have a friend named Mike, and he's in Spokane. He's been helping me quite a bit. He's the one who actually
came up with the idea in all of my images. You see, let me find one here. This one's good. You see that I just have this ramp just kind of falling down like regular. But he designed the ramp dropout to be a little quick staircase. So like you go upstairs up the ramp and then you'll fall downstairs here, and you can actually see it on when I was playing. You can see it. I didn't point it out, unfortunately. I should have. But you know, he's helped me a lot doing some things like that. He's definitely helped me. He's a VP expert as far as I'm concerned. So he's helped me with laying out virtual pinball, understanding how that works, playing the snot out of it in virtual pinball, helping me see that shots are or are not working. He's been a great help, an ally through this. I have another friend, Mark, who is a musician, and he's going to probably help me with a lot of the sounds. The one song that you do hear playing is actually by my son. He does music as well, but he's, you know how it is. He's my son, so he doesn't give a crap about pinball. So, you know, he's fairly disinterested. Mark seems pretty interested, so hopefully he can start working soon on some music. We have some ideas and some quick bits, but he'll probably be doing a lot of the sound. I'm hoping I can still talk my son into doing one or two songs, because I'd love for this to include, you know, my son's music. That would be pretty awesome for me. Artwork. I was a graphic designer for about 10 years, so I'll probably do some of the art myself. Although it may be a commissioned piece. The back glass, I'll probably look at commissioning somebody to do the back glass. I kind of have it in my head, but I don't really know exactly what I want yet. The idea for the outside of the cabinet is, again, it's going to just look like an old house, old rundown house. You know, rusty, kind of the metal, the metal side metal in the legs would have like rust coming out from the bolt holes, and then powder coated, you know, for smooth. Maybe just old siding. So something simple. I'm not, you know, this is not a crazy art project. I just want a cool playing pinball machine. I am going to do some very cool stuff to make it more tactile. I want to do some interesting things inside the cabinet that add to kind of the creepiness. You know, some mechs that bang on the cabinet occasionally, scratch against the cabinet, things like that. I want to do some speakers around the cabinet so I can throw sounds at different parts of the cabinet. You know, just an overall creepy vibe. Again, this is not a kid-friendly. This is more of a, you know, play in the dark and be scared enough to go turn the lights on. That's my goal. Anyway, I think that's all I got as far as a show and tell section goes. So if you have any questions or want to get a hold of me, I can be reached at, I'll put it in the chat here. If anybody wants to talk to me about, you know, building custom machines or whatever. Also, there is a Pinside thread. So if you look up my username, which is Jim56 on Pinside, you can find my thread, and you know, where I document kind of more the nuts and bolts of building all the pieces and parts and some of the stuff of trials and tribulations of where I'm at. It may feel a little outdated. Again, I'm just trying to get this back into it. Thanks, Borg. Appreciate it, man. And I'm definitely looking to talk to people, looking to meet people who are interested. You know, would love to meet anybody in this area who's kind of involved, interested, wants to, you know, get together, have a beer, and talk pinball. That'd be awesome. Anyways, I think that I'll try to play a few more games before I get out of here. So, wish me luck. So hopefully now maybe you can visualize a little better, you know, what the art's going to kind of look like. I know it's dark. I apologize for that. But with no, you know, there are literally no lights on the playfield. It makes it pretty hard to light up well. It's something I didn't actually consider until I got into this, wanting to stream it. But let's see what we can do. Certainly play a couple games.
Again, every time it boots, it goes out and grabs those config files, looks for changes, and then boots into the framework. It resets the drop targets every time it boots. So now you can kind of maybe understand, maybe visually think about what we're looking at when I look at the play field. Sorry, spelled escape. So I didn't know for sure, but I used my flippers, you know, to move lights just like in any pinball machine, and I ended up getting the playfield 2X. Just basically, you know, here comes the stairs down. You get that little clunk of the stairs down right here. It's pretty cool. I like it a lot. So I think it's a big addition to kind of, again, reinforce that feel, not just the regular pinball ramp. Up into the attic. This is a little too level, flat, so I need to work on the angle here to get it to fall in here correctly. I messed a lot with how much space there is between the... oh, it's stuck in here. Oh. There it is. Maybe not. Stuck good. I messed a lot with how much space there should be between the nails for the bagatelle. This one is really tight. I've had them, you know, 3 or 4 different ways. I still don't know which way is the right way. It needs to be to the point where I can just play it for a while and not think about all the little things like I am now. I mean, I'm sure that this game should have, you know, 400 or 500 plays probably on it, you know, to get kind of the bugs worked out of it. And I'm nowhere near that. I'm probably, you know, 50 plays at most. It's not very nice though. There's a lot of drains. It can be a hard game. Like that is, I want this metal ramp to feed the flipper. I don't want it to sit there. So I need to work on the angle of that metal so that because it just barely kisses it like that. And those are things I think you can only learn. You can only learn by just repeatedly playing and playing and playing. And making little adjustments along the way. Scoop to start mode. Oh, see if that was metal, I think that probably would have hit the scoop and held, but since it's plastic, it likes to get all bendy. So that's why I like to do this way, if I can. That'll work. Okay, so kitchen mode, so I need to get up into the pop bumpers. So you can enter the pop bumpers 2 ways. Right, I can do an orbit up to their top, or I can come in straight from the bottom. Oh, so there's a little. This is my biggest stuck ball placement right there. I think if I made this sling or this pop bumper just super sensitive, that would probably solve that issue. I don't want to bump it. There's no tilt in it, but I still don't want to bump it. I'm not a big nudger when I normally play pinball. So hopefully, if you follow along here, and you'll be witness to some of the progress I make. I'm not looking to keep any secrets. I'll try and stream this when changes are made, or when I feel like there's been enough changes to warrant new views. If I can get that new playfield cut, that would be huge. To be able to show inserts, I think would be huge. Hey Mark, how you doing? Man, it's a drainer. Things like to drain on it, that's for sure. So here's the auto launch. It'll come back and it'll auto launch itself. Perfect bounce. Rattling. Wow. Kind of hard to play as I think about all the little things that it hits that need to be fixed as it goes. Okay, one more game. See if I can do anything. Where's the ball went again? Here it is, found it. I'll pretend like I didn't lose it. So, scoop. Oh, see, that was a perfect scoop shot, but that plastic just being wobbly, so it hits the back and it's got that rebound instead of kind of it doesn't like suck it around like it will when it's metal. Flippers are a little high too. Definitely, they should be slightly down. They're making the orbit kind of a way off the tip. It shouldn't be that far off the tip. Oh, that should have made it. So definitely that post is too high. It's made that too tight. So again, just things that you learn. The only way to learn is to play it and see. Am I gonna make it? that's a case where you can look at flipper power, right? I mean, there's a chance that maybe this flipper still needs to be a little stronger. But there's also a chance that once that ramp is smooth and not a rough surface, you know, that it'll be smooth enough that it rolls fine. It's nice that all that stuff is modifiable forever. So, you know, it's a setting basically. It's what becomes your settings menu. Because I feel like that should make that. That one for sure should make that. So that flipper needs to be stronger. Yeah, because it's very close. I mean, it's right to the edge, right to the top of the hill. But like I said, I've added a half a degree, and you don't think about it. You don't think about it, but a half a degree is a lot. And if I want this to be playable at the degree it's set at right now, which I do, then I need to adjust my flipper power to kind of accommodate those issues. I like that shot though, that's a nice smooth shot. It's probably my favorite shot in the game. Both orbits are pretty nice, I think. So now I think there's something in the code that's saying something's running, because it's not, you know, and again, it's my lack of knowledge and my learning but it won't, for whatever reason, it's not letting it say, it's not liking the start of mode of the scoop. So what we're going to do is we're going to just quit the game and just start it again and see if I can get it to come back. It's pretty quick, it only takes a second or two. Restart everything up. Starts the Mission Pinball framework and then loads the game. Wow. That's just bad play there. Oh, ball save. Ball saves forever. Yeah, see there it just went quite in. So there was definitely something like buggy in the code right there that was telling it not to start a mode. These are all things, like I said, I have no error code checking at all. So I have to, there's a ton, and I do mean a ton, of code work still to be done. Soft plunge directly to the upper flipper. Try and get into that scoop if you want. Drain if you want. That ball didn't come out all the way. That's what that's going to do. Yeah, that messed up that game. I think that's pretty cool. I think the ball needs to slow down a little more, because if you come real slow, you get a real click, click, click of the stairs as it comes down. I like that. Very different than your normal ball return. Honestly, don't know what that was. Should not have this ball because I have a ball right here. It's probably more of a stop and go player than a flow game. I like both styles. Both styles can be done well. There it is. So now I'm going to hit the scoop on the way back, and I'll start the mode. That's the be quiet mode. So this is a mode where I have to hit that one target in the middle and not hit anything else. So I came down to hit those switches. You know, I will have to decide how many warnings you get, because now I've hit 3 switches and I haven't even had a shot at that yet. So that's pretty hard. You know, so we have to really decide. There's 4 switches and I didn't hit it yet. And how many warnings are you going to get? There it was. So I hit it. You see the mode get bonus started. So if I can quickly do the orbit's tough because this flipper is so proud. This flipper needs to be lowered quite a bit. In order to get that bonus, I got to come into the drop target and then into the hole underneath the ramp. Little hidden area there. Probably gonna run out of time with all that messing around. Yeah, so I have that had timed out. So again, I don't have it counting the timers. I need to figure out how to show the timer on screen and all that kind of stuff, sound package that goes with it or whatever. So now I'm just back into it. I need to just do the orbit again to get the second mode done. You don't have to get the bonus. So right now, the light for that lock would be lit. So you did that. You just didn't get the bonus. I guess if I want to compare that to a new game and how a new game does it, it's like the kill shot on Deadpool, right? So if you get the Deadpool guy, you know, Sabretooth or whatever, if you get him, you can get him killed all the way down to 0 health. And if you don't go in the scoop to collect the kill shot or whatever they're calling that, fatality thing or whatever, you still have completed him. You just don't get the points for that. So that's my bonus is similar to that. The only difference is I want to come up with a way to stack mine. So the risk reward is don't collect it until you've finished 3 modes, and then you'll get 3 times the three bonus scores. I think that might be a cool risk reward way to blow up a machine. You see there's a captive ball, you know, here. And I want to do some special combo shot when you start Super Spinner. And if you can do the spinner around and then off the top flipper, hit like the captive ball, you know, I want that to be a pretty high score, pretty significant shot to try and make. Because there was the captive ball shot there. Closet lock I was going for. Just that. The closet lock is bouncing off the bottom of the flipper. It is basically the same shot as like Star Trek, the away team. It's a cool shot though. For this purpose, I think it works good because the art can be that's the closet door. So you're hiding, you know, hide in the closet. Hide 3 in the closet, start closet multi-ball. You know, there's a lot more questions than answers. I don't know, like, what qualifies that lock. No idea. You know, do you qualify that lock by, you know, a certain number of ramp shots qualifies the lock, or maybe after 2 modes, you get 1 for free after 2 modes, and then maybe it's every 10 ramp shots you get another one, or 3 combos. I don't know, but something that unlocks that idea, the possibility of being able to hit balls. Maybe it's the ramp, you know, the ramp targets, those targets that are in front of the ramps. I am learning as I go, so things will, you know, change as they need to. Seems like every time I get this ready to start, I drain. Which, you know what? Is what I like how I play pinball. Okay, so this is ball 3. So I'm going to finish this game, and then I'll play one more game, and then I think I'll call it. So again, any questions you may have, just let me know. Either in chat or the email that I posted up there. Or look me up on Pinside, Jim56. Again, that's posted in chat. You can look at my thread. You can post questions to me there. Oh, right out. Could not hit that scoop. Okay, so we're going to play one more game. I'm going to short fly the game. Oh, didn't make it. It's got a lot of fun. You only get one chance at it. I need the orbit to hit right orbit. Oh, this won't be fast enough. It's going to leak around, but it won't be fast enough. Whenever you create a shot sequence, like the orbit is a shot sequence of the 3 switches like I showed you on the code, you can set a time on those. So you have to hit those 3 switches in a certain number of in a certain amount of time, or else it doesn't count as the sequence. So that's why that orbit was not good, because the sequence is like, you know, for that orbit is probably 2 seconds or 3 seconds. So if you can't make it in that amount of time, like that's kind of slow. Oh, but see that made it. So that was good as far as timing goes, and then of course I drained. Fast enough? No, not fast enough. And then I wasn't watching. Okay, well, thank you very much for joining me. Send me feedback. You know, if no one wants to see any of this, no one cares. You know, I don't need to put this on Twitch. But if you do care, I can do it more often. I can get more detailed about specifics. Definitely happy to do that as well. So. Again, RenoPinball, RenoPinball.com. You can find out about what we're doing in Reno. Leagues. We got a selfie league that just started today. I think today's the 1st. So May, we're doing a selfie league. I run tournaments once a month. And we do our streams. So if you're, you know, in the Reno area for any reason, look us up. See what we got going on. Love to play pinball with you. Have a good night.